Okay, can we? Yay, we can hear each other now. That is so weird. So the microphone was selected, but it was not doing anything. Okay, let's try it. Let's try that snazzy intro again. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this Super Tuesday evening. We do have a bunch of election stuff that I don't think anybody's expecting anything different than what it was supposed to be. I do apologize. I think we were planning on doing a stream Sunday night, but we got back really late, and I just couldn't manage it. So actually Sunday night, this weekend, we're actually buying wifey a new car. So, well, a new used car. So when we were getting back, it was just already like way too late. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to redo the live stream a little bit later on. And Tuesday it was again. So we should be good. I did not. So actually, it was interesting. One of my things I was hoping for today was yesterday I was planning on that I was going to go out to the range and I was going to have a whole bunch of first shooting impressions with a bunch of the guns. So I have 5 new guns that I received recently between basically right around from SHOT Show till now and a little bit earlier before SHOT Show. Received a bunch of guns. I purchased a number of guns that we're going to be using this year. I'm like, okay, so what I'm planning on doing was Monday, I was going to go out to the range because especially since almost like the first time it was actually semi-warm out. And scheduled there's a conflict in the schedule between wifey and I, so it couldn't go. And then basically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's going to be just rain nonstop. So then I am going to go to the range on Friday, but it's pretty exciting to think about it simply because there's so many new firearms that were received for the channel, projects that we're working on, and all of that fun stuff. So we'll kind of go through those. The biggest ones, actually, I'm here for you guys. So if you have questions, we'll go through those. Am I drinking Diet K? La Croix sparkling seltzer. I've been on that kick recently. And you're right. If you're not first, you're last. Ricky Bobby. Kind of look like Ryan's from that culture. Yeah, so that's basically fun stuff. We might have a guest on or two, but it's basically like I just wanted to show up and be here. We are here. We have a whole bunch of stuff. First and foremost, apologies if we did not like immediately after SHOT Show. We got a whole bunch of videos published, especially videos during SHOT Show, and then that basically went quiet a little bit. We still have a bunch of videos. They are going to get worked through. I am going to get them out for you guys. And then there is 3 full review videos that we worked on that are already recorded. They're going to be edited, and we're going to have those. So the editor is working on all of those videos. I'm going to chime in and basically get the rest of those out, but I will not be, or at least you guys give me a hard time. Like say, for example, if it's summertime and I'm still posting SHOT Show videos, just smack me for that. We're not doing that. Now, if anyone is in South Carolina, I am planning on going down to Palmetto State Armory, the Gathering event. Let me pull that one up. PSA, the Gathering. 24. Yes, I'm over 18. So, if you're not familiar, let me share the screen. The Gathering. There we go. So, if you're not familiar, Palmetto State Armory does run their range event. So it is in Clinton, South Carolina. It is at the Clinton House Plantation, which I believe is the home range for... Sorry. Which I believe is the home range for Such. So they run their event. It used to be 3-day. Now, the past 2 years, and this year is going to be a 2-day event. So it is going to be Friday and Saturday. This year it's March 22nd and 23rd. And at this event, generally what they have is they're going to have, it's almost like media day, but for people. So we're going to have vendors there. Usually they're going to have a whole bunch of vendors. So PSA advertises it locally to all of our customers, and they have invited media members come out and go to the event. They do have a good amount of sponsors. Oh, sorry. It almost is my bedtime. So you're going to have, obviously, Palmetto State Armory with their Let's Storm Arms. You have IWI, Glock, Beretta, SAS. Interesting. SIG and Hyperfire. Then you have DPMS, Arms Corps, Leupold, and Springfield Armory. PSA, Black Aces, BlackRock Branding. I don't know who they're there for. Gun Owners America, DPMS, and Barrett. So they are the big sponsors. They are going to have the shooting booths that are going to be out there. Beyond those, American Legion, Crate Tactical, Silencer Central, Primitive Bear Arms, Wizard Forge Knives, Strap Knives, Grizzly Ears, Otis, Lift Free Armory, Kronos Knives. That's a bunch of knives, people. Green Wolf Tactical, Davidson's, Wilder Tactical, Toast Targets, Caliber Coffee, Right to Bear Arms. Both of those are PSA companies. Savior Equipment, Shaw Armament, American Tactical, Mantis, Gun Owners America, Timber Creek, Firearms Policy Coalition, Taurus, IWI, SIG, Glock, Dead Air, Shadow Systems, EOTech, Trigicon, Springfield, Armscore, Hyperfire, Beretta, Leupold, Warren, Christensen, Silencer Central, Maxim Defense, HK, Stoger, Benelli, Vortex, AAC, which is a brand of PSA, H&R, DPMS, which is a brand of PSA, I believe. Canic, Sentry, Lift Free. We have Lift Free Armory twice. Yes, we do. And we have Lift Free Armory twice. And CMC Triggers and Santan Tactical. So they are going to have, they closed the range down. And you can go, we're going to have a bunch of the exhibitors. So you can go there and shoot a lot of these firearms from the companies that are going to be there. So one of the things that they have is Barrett 1 mile challenge, but although it's not, you're not shooting it at a mile, you're shooting it at 1,000 yards. So interesting. And this year, it doesn't look like that there's going to be a night shoot this year. But very, very fun event. If you are in the area, I do highly recommend that you come out. Absolutely recommend coming out so you can actually play around and try a bunch of the stuff. So just Google PSA The Gathering event and it'll give you the tickets. And I will be there most certainly. I'm going to try to make the Friday. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be there both Friday and Saturday, or last year I literally just came down just for Friday and went home Friday night. So I will be there, and then I am starting to make my plans for NRA in Dallas, although I'm not sure whether we're going to do that for sure or not. Don't switch. Sorry, lost track of the tabs. Okay, let me close that. So yeah, that was that. Back 1014. I am not familiar with what you're talking about. Sorry, Ryan. I'm not familiar with that one. Hello, James. All right. So beyond that, it looks like I am going to be shooting some PRS matches this year. Sure, we can. I'll have to try to find it. I am honestly not familiar with it. I'm underprepared for that game. So this year I am going to be participating in a couple of PRS matches, and looks like there's like a beginner match that I'm going to be attending. That is going to be in April. And I'm going to be like, okay, so what am I actually going to shoot? So the safe choice is obviously the Ruger Custom Shop, Ruger Precision Rifle Custom Shop in 6.5 Creed. Although, so the guns that I have that came in and I was going to have the impressions on. So I received, obviously I have, we talked about the Ruger American Gen 2 that I received in 7.62 by 39. Since then, I did receive. Well, sorry. Since then, I did receive the Ruger American Standard in 6.5 Creedmoor. So both of those are growing out to the range. And the one that I'm really excited about is the Ruger SFAR in 6.5 Creed. So, very cool gun. I was fairly impressed with the Ruger SFAR in 308. So that's the small frame auto-loading rifle, which is basically a small frame AR-10. And in 308, it was pretty cool. It was a little picky in terms of the gas system. So one of the settings is undergassed, the other setting is overgassed. And if you shoot it on the overgas settings, then it really starts ripping up the brass. At SHOT Show, I shot and you have the videos already out there for it. I shot the Ruger SFAR in 6.5 Creedmoor, and I was thoroughly impressed. One of the things I was impressed with is that the recoil felt very mild in that gun, which is really interesting because so the SFAR in 308, it does kick more. I mean, like you definitely feel it. I'm not going to say it's like an FAL, but you definitely feel it. This SFAR in 6.5 Creed, granted, the gun is a little bit heavier because it's a heavier barrel, but it felt like a joy to shoot. So I'm really tempted with that. And hopefully on Friday, I'm going to get the first shots through my gun, and we're going to compare it to a friend's Scar 17S. We're going to compare them side by side, so that's going to be interesting. But I might actually shoot that in PRS gas gun. I mean, like we're definitely going to push it out past 1,000 yards. That's going to be a really, really interesting gun. Beyond that, so speaking of 223, I do have the Darkstorm MFR, which we did a video on here. So that's the modern fighting rifle, and basically it's like it's the ultimate battle rifle that you would want. So that one, we're going to get our actual rounds through it now that it's actually warming up a little bit, and have lots of use and abuse planned for that rifle. I apparently at auction, I picked up some 110 round drums, Chinese, Norinco 110, is it 110 or 120? Round drums for 223 for ARs. So we're going to be running through those, and we might put some go fast triggers in that just to really see it. So that's going to be fun on that. And then we have rimfire. So end of last year, I got and already started shooting. So we have the Springfield Rimfire 2020, which was just horrendous. I mean, the gun feels great, but like the groups on it are horrible. Then I have 3 Rugers, the Ruger American Rimfire Standard, Ruger American Rimfire Long Range Target, which I frickin' love. And then I have a Ruger Precision Rimfire. So I already have footage with those. We've shot a bunch with those guns. Yes, we all shoot substantially better than the Springfield 2020. And then actually end of last year, I also picked up from on a Black Friday sale from Cabela's, the Winchester, let me make sure I got this name right, Expert Rimfire 22. So that one also is made in Turkey, and it takes 1022 magazines. bolt-action rimfire rifle. Haven't shot that yet, but it looks like a pretty cool rifle for the money. Reminds me, I got my mail-in rebate, and that one I did actually buy. So those are the new guns. Well, sorry. It is technically a little bit later. That is actually good to hear. So I know the 22 was supposed to be pretty good. The interesting part is, I mean, like, even talking about Winchester as a company, their centerfire stuff is made by Browning. The rimfire stuff is made by a Turkish company. And same thing with the Springfield 2020. The 2020 rimfire is made by Hiis Firearms in Turkey. And they're not really known for making 22s or precision 22s or anything precision for that matter. They make shotguns. And I just find the audacity to put an American flag on the trigger guard of that Springfield is just like, oh, come on. There's like nothing American about that gun. I was like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it being there's nothing wrong with being made overseas. Just like, don't pretend to be what it's not. So it's interesting. It's interesting. And it was actually made by a fairly big manufacturer. So the Winchester is made by a fairly big manufacturer. It's Sentry Arms in Turkey. Versus Springfield went with Hiis, and Hiis makes shotguns, not the other one. So it's just weird. Yeah, so we're gonna have all of those that are gonna go out to the range, and then also I rescued from a local store. I don't know why, but I got another Howa 1500, one of the special editions, and was it 308 or 65 Creed? I don't remember. One of those two. I think might have been 308. And also I got a Howa in 65 PRC. And I think I rescued another gun from the store, but I can't remember it for the life of me right now. So yeah, that's going to be that fun stuff. We are definitely going to get all of those. Got some new scopes, and that is what I had planned for that one. Sentry Arms makes almost all the firearms for Sentry Arms, or they did it at one time. Yeah, so Sentry Arms was an importer. It's interesting. So I honestly, like, on the topic of like foreign produced guns, so like with Canik, so like Sentry did a good job. Like, the biggest issue with having something manufactured overseas is whether the manufacturer actually has someone doing QC on site. So there's somebody I know in Eastern Europe, and they had a bunch of shotguns produced for them by a Turkish company. And for all intents and purposes, I mean, they had a pretty good track record. And all of a sudden, so they made a contract to produce some guns, and they started coming in, and like a lot of these guns started blowing up. So they sent their own people. The Russian company sent their own people to Turkey to do the inspections there. And at the beginning, they had to basically decay, or basically decline, over 50% of the guns that were being manufactured. And once they finally put somebody there on site to hand inspect every single gun, the failure rates or the rejection rates went down significantly, because now the manufacturer knows that, hey, we can't cut corners on this client. So it's almost kind of like the same thing if you're talking about like optics, and I have this discussion all the time with Ilya. So when you're comparing like a company like Vortex, so yeah, Vortex, like people would say like, well, Arkin makes Verscopes in China, but so does Vortex. But here's the kicker. If you're an OEM and you're producing these optics for somebody, would you rather cut corners on a smaller company, or would you cut corners on a big company like Vortex, whom, if you screw over, you're going to lose them, and they're the biggest optics company in the world. It's a massive contract to lose. So when you go overseas, generally speaking, it's not just junk or not. It's like, if you want quality, you can get quality. If you want garbage, you can get garbage. So I'm not going to disclose the name of the company, but it is an optics company. They are a manufacturer out of China, and they now also sell under their own brand. They produce the same scope that you can buy in multiple places throughout the world, in Asia, in Europe, in the United States. The scopes that you're getting in the United States are not like the scopes that you're going to be able to get in Asia, or let's say in the Philippines, or even, let's say, for example, in France or Italy. So having a conversation with them. So for example, like, they're not the biggest OEM, but they're fairly sizable. So when they produce a scope and it has an error rate, like for tracking error, if it has a tracking error over, let's say, 3 or 4%, they're not just going to get rid of the scope. What they're going to do is they're going to put it in the rest of the piles with those 3 to 4% scopes. So what the company basically decided, because they don't want to just kill it and redo it, because that would end up costing them more money. So what they do is they kind of create these 3 tiers, and the scopes with the best tracking accuracy, they're going to send to the United States, the biggest gun market. The second best tier are going to go to Europe, and then the worst scopes are going to go to other places in Asia or Australia, or like where you're going to have far less people buying them. So you have that, and you absolutely do need to watch that with a lot of the manufacturers. And that is also why I'm not necessarily surprised why, for example, you have Turkish rimfire guns made for Springfield, which are hot garbage. And then you have Turkish rimfire guns made for Winchester, which are actually pretty good. It's not saying that Turkey doesn't have the manufacturing expertise. They do, but they also have what's called gun enterprise zones. So their entire model is, hey, let's pump out as much volume as we can and do it that way. So Springfield, I mean, like, they do produce some really good products, but I mean, they've largely become a marketing company. So it doesn't at all surprise me that you have such mediocre stuff coming with a Springfield Armory badge on it. So yeah, it's just, it is what it is. But no, I mean, like, let's put it this way. If something can get produced in the United States, I'm 100% for that. However, there are certain things that are just not economically feasible to produce in the United States at the prices that should be made. So that's on that one. Hello, Buzz. And Ali. Yeah, so on Ali, you can get a bunch of that stuff. But don't get me wrong. So, I mean, for example, like, I mean, like, a lot of stuff you get on Ollie's, like, it's made by the exact same OEMs, is like, for example, like a Bushnell TRS like 25 clone. It's like, okay, it doesn't take rocket science. I mean, like, there are certain things like a basic red dot. If it's just going to be for a plinking gun, you shouldn't have to spend a couple $100 on one, unless you really have FU money. In that case, okay, fine, sure, go ahead. So it's peculiar. It's really, really, really interesting. Yes. Okay, so this is weird. I don't even see how many people are in here or anything else like that. Yes, we got rid of that. Absolutely. I see somebody signed up for an affiliate program. We are going to be doing a bunch of stuff with the bag rider. I will have a bunch of videos on some new tripods. And that actually basically reminds me, So, oh, Buzz, you're killing it. Check out these bad boys. Yeah, hold on. I gotta unhighlight this comment. There we go. We have some awesome glow-in-the-dark patches. You can pick them up on luxgun.com. Also, I have, and I just listed, I have a number of open box tripods, which are listed on there as well. From Sunway Photo. So we have T2830CS, TL3240, and I have one T3240 CSL, which is the longer one. So those are on the site. Really, really good tripods, and I am able to discount those. So some of them are media samples that were sent to me or for somebody else, and they possibly weren't used. Or some of them were basically purchases and returns, but they're hand inspected. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. So you're able to pass up, I'm able to pass on some pretty good savings for you guys. Yes, I am actually going to be a little bit later on this year. I am going to do a couple of smaller ones, simply because I mean these things are big. So 4.5 by 4.5 inches. I'm like, I wanted big, and like we're like, okay, we're not charging for more. I'm like, okay. So it was a really, really good deal. I'm really happy with those. At SHOT Show, so they have a patch wall where there's a couple of the vendors, and you trade the patches, and they put up your patch on the wall. Somebody stole our patch off of that patch wall. Like the moment, like the day it went up, somebody stole it. So yeah, I'm like, on one hand, I'm like, it's cool that somebody wanted them. On the other hand, I'm like, you rat bastards. And apparently Brandon Herrera, the AK guy, he wanted one, so he took one from Card Shark. So I only brought 20, and like all of them, like 2 SHOT Show, and like all of them were like gone. But we were able to get some good patches. I need a Ruger Gen 2 in 223. Yes. Very cool guns. I'm absolutely looking forward to shooting the Ruger American Gen 2s. What's interesting is, so when I picked up and when we did our live video on the Ruger American Gen 2 Ranch in 7.62 by 39, like it was smoother. But then I picked up the Ruger American Standard in 6.5 Creed that came a bit later, and that was even smoother yet. So whacked. It's really interesting that like that one was even smoother than the other. So like I'm like, okay. On one hand, it's like, okay, like this is like really, really, really good. On the other hand, is there still that much difference in quality control between the two? So we're absolutely going to be comparing those at the range. Didn't I get something else? Or I think I was looking at getting the Stevens 334 for roughly that same price. I do not remember. I will say I do want the Colt CDX or CBX. I always confused that one. So that's basically the CZ clone. Safety is a little bit different. Otherwise, the action's the same. That one actually took AICS pattern magazines. So that's going to be an interesting one. But the Ruger American Gen 2 in 223, I was thinking about 223, but I'm like, okay, let me just do 7.60 by 39 because you'd be a little bit nicer suppressed. And then I do want one in 22 arc. I shot 22 arc at SHOT Show. We're shooting it out at 960 or 970 yards. And that was just a really, really, really enjoyable time. So actually I might get that in that one, and then also compare it at a with a Uintah Precision upper. I'm really glad. No, I mean, they glow really, really well. They glow really well. Absolutely. So, that is actually one of the things we're definitely going to discuss. Like, we need to pick a date. And I talked to the guys at Tracked Optics, and they kind of want to do an event as well. But I think like that would be really cool just to kind of see how far we can push 22 arc at that range. So, Ryan, Bending Ballistics, make sure you subscribe to him as well. He has access, or in the family, they have a really amazing range down in Kentucky. And as long as there is no tornadoes, it's a fantastic place to go. So I went down there last summer and we took 6.5 Grendel out to 1,550 yards, which was really, really cool. And it was just beautiful out. It was just beautiful down there, except the Canadian wildfires, and you couldn't breathe. And I did that to myself. So yes, on that interesting topic. So we're talking about suppressors. I did not realize that. So if you're on the fence about getting suppressor, right now there are people who are getting Form 4s approved within like 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 days. So apparently the ATF is getting sued. So they are on that binge in order to bring down the average approval times. So they are mass approving a lot of the Form 4s that are coming through. And I just saw one. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I saw a post on Facebook that somebody applied February 22nd, and they just got their approval on March 1st. And I'm like, okay, that can't be. I go on the Reddit NFA, and they're like, people literally, they got 1 day approval. So I'm like, okay, I have 4 suppressors that are at my FFL that I bought like almost a year ago. And I'm like, okay, it's time now to just get the paperwork started on those and get those approved. So those are actually 4 KGM suppressors. But if you're on the fence about that, absolutely go and do that. Ryan is absolutely mellow. See, I'm like calm. Like Ryan is even more mellow. I will absolutely have to look more into that. But you know, like, so, I mean, like, realistically, I mean, that's really what it should be. I mean, like, you should be able to go and just get a suppressor. These are hearing protection devices. In places like in civilized places like Europe, you're required to hunt with a suppressor. Now, we can obviously talk about the illegal $200 tax stamps, but I mean, approval should just be instant anyway. So that's on that. SIG announced their 1911 X series, which seems like, I'm like, okay, it's like, and like by this time it's like, okay, it's yet another 1911. How's this thing different or anything else like that? It's like, it's getting bad. I'm like, I don't know how different. Like, I'm like, didn't you guys just do this before? So I'm not going to show a screenshot because it's like an actual picture of it because it's a live stream. So it's in 1911 with a rail that's optics ready, with day-night sights, a serrated flat trigger, G10, extended slide release, extended safety. So I don't get it. It's like, I mean, did SIG not make an optics ready in 1911 before? It's weird. Okay, so there was that. I definitely saw that, but then they just shut down e-forms. And then I guess they opened it up, and I guess they just started approving them. It's weird. Okay. Well, I mean, they had the P320 optics ready already for a while, the 365 and all of those, but I guess 1911s, I always assumed they had one. That's the weird one. Oh, I did get a package from Hiis site. So at SHOT Show, they had a new high visibility site. Right. So let's schedule it for this Sunday because I am like legit yawning and I'm passing out. But we will definitely talk about this topic. So I'll send you the link and we will schedule it. I would love to, but I legit am passing out. You'll be at a match at Sunday night at 10 p.m. Question mark. Wow, I'm like using speech to test quite a bit. Or we can do it a different day. Just let me know. Okay. So Hiis sites, it's the Hiis XS. Really cool site. So basically, and I think I'm not sure. Basically what they had. So I'm going to answer this one and I'll get back to that one. I think I want to do 3-gun this year as well. I might try. I'm going to see if I can find a 3-gun match. That'd be really cool. Okay. So XS sites, what's really interesting about this one is, so it's different type of fiber. So it's a red front fiber, and then you have a fiber that goes, or like an optic that goes in the back for the rear sight. And when the two are properly aligned, that red becomes green, and green means go. Super cool. I thought it was a little gimmicky while I was kind of looking at the concept of it. Then I did get a chance to actually shoot it at Media Day at the range. I'm like, wow, this actually feels fairly natural. So for defensive type situations, I would absolutely recommend that. So we're gonna have it on one of the guns. 3-gun is work. I believe it. Now, actually, John, do we even have any 3-gun matches in our area? There's a lot of 3-gun matches at the Geisley range in PA, the same range where there were. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, that's only about an hour away from me. And I have not been at the Geisley range. Shockingly, they don't shoot PRS at the Geisley range. But they do have the war rifles match. Now, we did have at Top 10, they had a multi-gun match. Now, actually, Ryan, this is going to be a good one for you to discuss because from my understanding was, so like, there was kind of like the organizational system behind multi-gun. So there's the USPSA 3-gun, then there is the multi-gun one, and I think like somebody like died and that organization kind of went away. So the vast majority of the 3-gun matches now are apparently outlaw type matches. So people are just doing their own thing. Hey, Chris, yeah, I could not do Sunday. So I'm like, okay, let me just get something today. But we will be back to Sundays, I promise. Today it's just me coming on and just like BSing for a little bit. 12 more minutes and I'm done. I'm passing out already. And you know what? We can have you talk about 3-gun and we can bring Aaron to talk about NRL 22 and say like, hey, which is the right discipline for somebody to do. Now, what would be interesting actually is in our area, so we have the Tommy Gun Warehouse, which is the retail outlet of Car Firearms. They have a 600-yard range. To have them do some sort of matches up there would be fantastic. And I know they were interested in it. Yep. Absolutely. When NRL dropped Defend the Border matches, 3-gun went extremely wild. Je ne sais pas. I don't know this one. I don't remember that NRL was involved in 3-gun. Interesting. So, I know when I was out west in Colorado in Comp Expo. So that was the Multigun Nationals and NRL Hunter Nationals and 3D Archery Nationals all at the same time at one event. And I was like, this is actually pretty good. Okay. And of course, I forgot to recharge my light, so that's why that light just went down. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Think I hear a screaming child up there. So, NRL. Okay, so see, here's the NRL had a 3-gun series called Defend the Border Series. There are 14 matches to determine national, just like PRS goal. So here's the kicker with that. I don't know how much I actually like these series that, like, I mean, essentially, like, what NRL, like, when you're doing with those, it's like you're pricing people out because, I mean, like, okay, like, well, how many people can actually afford to travel to 14 matches throughout the country just to go shoot? Versus a organization like IDPA or USPSA or even like Glock matches and stuff, where it's a ground up, it starts at the local matches and it builds up. So it's for example, if you're a local shooter and you want to shoot an area match, you can go shoot an area match. You can shoot a sectional, or if you really want, you can go shoot a nationals. But you earn those spots at your local matches, and you don't need to be a professional shooter in order to go shoot one of these bigger matches or bigger events. I mean, like, unless you're a sponsored shooter, I mean, like, I know, like, when NRL and PRS, when they were, like, starting out, it was like, hey, this is going to be a TV series type event, and it's, like, only for the pros, and then it's like, okay, well, what about, like, I don't think it's, like, democratizing shooting. I mean, especially, I mean, like, hey, you got to get $20,000 worth of stuff just to go shoot these matches. I don't believe in that. I truly believe that shooting sports and gun rights are supported at the local level. Okay, so here's the kicker. Okay, 3-gun is way more expensive than PRS. An average 3-gun match was $300 match fee and at least 750 rounds. Sure, but then here's the kicker. How much, like, I'm assuming for 3-gun, you don't need a $5,000 rifle or a $4,000 scope or anything else like that. You can get away with far cheaper stuff. Or, like, for example, for shotgun, I'm sure a 940 JM for $1,000 is going to be more than fine. Or a modified Saiga 12 or a Vepr 12 or something like that. Now, I mean, obviously the match fees and that's a whole different thing, but I mean, like, you're actually shooting a lot more. And definitely the matches are more intense, but it's not like from the commitment perspective. See, I mean, you're making my point. I shoot Anderson ARs, Canic pistols, and Stevens 12 gauge and run with the best of them. Absolutely. And I know even, for example, like USPSA, I mean, when you're shooting like up close, I mean, it's true. I mean, like, you have guys who are shooting stock Glocks as well as someone who shoots a staccato or like a custom Limcat or any of like those other high-end Gucci guns. Correct. Yeah, so the PRS is, but I'm assuming that for those $300, there's also a pretty big price table as well and all of that. Yeah, so USPSA matches, I think generally now are between like $25 and $30. Your sectionals are going to be about $125, and When you go nationals, I think nationals was $250 last time I shot it. But that's basically a 4-day match. But also the consumables at those USPSA matches to run them is going to be a lot less expensive. I mean, you're just setting up targets and some steel, and if you have some spinners or a Texas Star, that's going to be as big as it is. Some of these, like the steel, for example, that's going to hold up to a 223 round is going to be significantly thicker, more expensive. And the ranges that you're shooting these matches at are also going to have to get bigger and all of that. Yes, absolutely. So it's actually interesting you talk about that. So the two guns that, so I baby all of my guns with the exception of my two USPSA guns. And one of them is what's now an $8,000 SVI 2011. And then the other one that I really ran hard was my Smith & Wesson 1911 Pro Series in 9mm. My CZ is doing actually pretty decent. So that's a CZ SPO1 Shadow 1 from the CZ Custom Shop. And like those guns, they do get run hard and all of that. They do have character marks on them. The rest of the stuff gets babied. But that's the whole. But you know, like even think about it. I mean, that's my point. Like, okay, for example, like if you want to go shoot matches, go shoot IDPA or USPSA because, I mean, it's accessible. You just need a regular Glock and you need that. Although I think the 3-gun match we had here was only, I think, about like $50 or $100. I don't think it was a $300 match fee. I'll have to take a look at that. I'll absolutely have to do that. And I ran my Daniel defense rifles, a 3-gun, but they have 3-gun is about lightweight and speed. Yeah. And I know the same thing. So, for example, like the Geisley War rifle match, same thing. Actually, no, we have the Geisley match, and then we have the IWI match that they run at my the IW one is at my local match, and same thing. I mean, like, yeah, guys who are shooting basic ARs, and realistically, look, it's like it's about ammo, but more importantly, it's about your trigger discipline. I mean, like, let's put it this way: we shot a stock barreled action Ruger American 6.5 Grendel out to 1,500 yards. If you're shooting 500, 600, 700 yards, you just need to have acceptable accuracy, and it's going to be mostly you as the shooter and reading the conditions. You don't need a sub half MOA type gun. Nice. All right, we'll definitely be talking about this. So I know we did an intro to NRL 22. We definitely want to do something for 3-gun. And I think one of the things I'm going to try to do over the summertime is actually go and experience a lot of these matches and record that and document that. I might even try cowboy shooting. Shooting a PRS in the middle of 3-gun season was my biggest mistake. PRS is a whole nother level. Yeah, it's different. Well, let's put it this way. It's a gun game with different rules. And if you want to get better with handgun shooting, go shoot some IDPA and USPSA matches. That's how you're going to improve. See, my only thing was I had no problem picking a name, was dressing up. I was like, I don't know if I want to dress up for that. It's like, I mean, I guess it's basically that's where you're spending your money on. It's like your outfit. So, yeah. And just like that, it's been an hour almost. Crazy. All right. So it's almost 11 o'clock. I really want to be in bed so I can be up bright and early. I think we're going to have Ryan. So, Ryan, I'm going to send you a message so we can square away for the weekend or a different day, and definitely want to talk about 3-gun. Cowboy Action Nationals are in Bowling Green. I did not know that. That is cool. I would love to go see it. I mean, some of those people are like absolutely gifted shooters. But I will say one of the things I definitely want to do more of this year, and I started. So my oldest daughter, she's 8. She's in an archery league, and this weekend is going to be her tournament. I was just playing around with her bow. I'm like, oh my God, I'm really, really enjoying this. So let me know what you guys think about doing some archery content on the channel. I think I'm interested. It's interesting, and especially since my home club has a 3D archery course that almost no one ever shoots. When is that? So when is the Cowboy Action Nationals? Hey, Vernon, it was a pleasure meeting you. Yes, I scheduled the live stream fairly late. This is an impromptu one. And we're actually wrapping this one up. And when is that? Well, you can always go back and watch the replay, but it's mostly informal. Did not have anything. Well, actually, what I did have planned for today didn't happen because I didn't get a good chance to go to the range yesterday. Okay. We'll have to make a trip down there. Very cool. All right. And on that fun note, I am going to go walk the dog and pass out for the night. Thank you, everybody, who joined. I am going to, next couple, tomorrow, I'm home. I will be editing a bunch of the videos, throwing them out there, and do that. I did not yet shoot the Ruger American Gen 2s. I will be doing that this Friday, both of them. So, on that note, we'll talk about that on this weekend. So thank you everybody for joining. Now everybody frickin' joins. Thank you everybody for joining and participating in this conversation. Ryan, it was a pleasure. Thank you, my friend. And I will talk to everyone very soon, and I will see you all on Sunday evening, our regular time. Good night.